Disruption across many parts of the country because of heavy snow and rain. There are problems for road, rail and air travellers. We'll have the latest.
A severe weather alert is in place for parts of northern England after heavy snow caused travel disruption.
I'm Nicky Schiller, live in Leeds. Yorkshire is one of the worst hit areas and there's an amber alert in force until midnight, and then there are fears about icy conditions in the morning.
Hello, good afternoon. Heavy snow and freezing rain is causing widespread disruption across the UK. An amber weather warning for snow is still in place across northern England and parts of the Midlands, meaning there is potential risk to life. A number of airports were closed for several hours in order to clear snow from runways. While they have now reopened, many passengers are still facing delays. Our North of England correspondent Danny Savage reports.
At the extremes of today's weather, conditions were atrocious. Blizzards created drifts here in North Yorkshire and roads became impassable. The snowfall had been accurately forecast and most people decided to stay put and try and make the most of it.
Pennine areas of northern England seem to be one of the worst affected areas so far today. And from my sort of unofficial measurements here in this part of the Yorkshire Dales, we've got about 22 centimetres of snow so far, and it's still falling.
It of course created difficult travel conditions. This bus struggled on the gradients in Belmont in Lancashire. The A1M came to a standstill at times through Yorkshire and Durham, and when things did clear, the outside lane remained snowbound and a 40-mile-per-hour speed limit was in place. Airports saw diversions and cancellations earlier in the day. This was Manchester this morning, but both here and Leeds Bradford have now reopened. There were delays on trains too. Harrogate was typical of many places in northern England. A taste of winter had people changing their plans.
We're going to stay put. We've been driving from Scotland down to Brighton and we stopped off last night, looked at the weather forecast, but we're going to stay put, just enjoy the weather and then just travel safely back down south tomorrow.
I can't get to the airport. I've booked an Uber but they've cancelled it.
This was Rotherham in South Yorkshire this morning. There was snowfall in parts of Wales too, where people in some areas were warned not to make non-essential journeys. But in the worst affected areas, the drifts will need to be cleared tomorrow, along with checks on livestock, which may be huddled beneath them.
And Danny, there is disruption even in areas where there hasn't really been that much snow.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've still got sort of nationwide disruption due to various different forms of this weather front over the last 12, 15 hours or so. This is the A66 behind me. This is one road that it still remains closed this evening. It's one of those main east to west routes across the Pennines. It should normally be an easy 50-mile drive across to Penrith and the M6, but not tonight. The highest stretch is still covered in snow with drifts as well. This road is unlikely to open till tomorrow. Now, the weather-wise, what's raining here, and it's turned to rain in a lot of places this afternoon, including here for the last couple of hours. But as you can see, it's now turning back into snow again. So it's going to be a messy mix overnight, I think, for quite a few places in northern England. But perhaps the legacy of this weather front will be some flooding, because there are numerous flood alerts now being issued, particularly across the southern part of England and into the Midlands, with dozens of warnings in place now because they've been affected by heavy rain. The weather is much milder further south, and that's been the problem over the last day or so there, causing some problems. One other thing for train travellers as well who've been unable to travel today, lots of the train companies are saying on their social media feeds that tickets that are valid for today will be valid for travel tomorrow. But this weather story isn't over yet. I think we'll be feeling the effects into tomorrow at least, Jane.
All right, Danny, thanks so much for now. Danny Savage there.
Weather warnings remain in place for much of the UK tonight after heavy snow caused widespread disruption. There were power cuts this morning. Several airports were forced to temporarily close while drivers had to abandon their vehicles after getting stuck. Martha Fairley has the latest.
The north of England bore the brunt of the snowfall, collisions and stranded vehicles causing disruption on many roads, and Trans-Pennine routes closed since last night. In Durham, the road conditions were frustrating the best efforts of delivery drivers to get parcels to their customers.
So I've been sat down there for an hour, but obviously the depot's up the road, isn't it? So I think we've got to get the parcels somehow, haven't we? Just need to get them on first.
In Sheffield, public transport ground to a halt. Buses stranded for 3 hours on this hill had little chance of returning to depot anytime soon. While at Leeds Bradford Airport, winter sun plans were being put on ice.
Well, we're supposed to be flying to Benidorm tomorrow. We've come in this car park thinking it was this one, and we've obviously got stuck. But you've obviously said the airports are shut today anyway, so we'll just have to play it by ear.
Operations there resumed this afternoon after runways were cleared, while there was also disruption at Liverpool John Lennon, Manchester and Birmingham airports. With people being reminded to check on the elderly and vulnerable, neighbours in Bradford were helping out where they could.
My neighbours are elderly and the nurses have got to come 4 times a day, so I'm just clearing a way up for the nurses, that's all.
But as well as blocking roads and runways, the bad weather was also having an impact on power supplies in some communities.
Well, the electricity has gone in and out, which has been quite frustrating. But, you know, I think it's nice to have a bit of snow. I think we've missed it over Christmas.
It's only been off for a couple of minutes at a time so far.
I'm desperate for my child to go to nursery in the morning, so here we are, snow ploughing away ourselves.
And with the snow arriving on the last day before the schools go back and many businesses reopen, for those who could, it was an opportunity to have some final festive fun.
Well, the snow that was coming down overnight turned very quickly to rain here today. It's been coming down pretty consistently, pretty heavy at times, and it's still coming down right now. That means that while a lot of the main roads have been cleared by snowplows and gritters, side roads like these have turned into a really wet, slushy mess that's really difficult for drivers to get about on, as well as pedestrians on the pavements. And as the temperatures drop tonight, there is a warning that there will be further snow in parts of north of England and across Scotland, but also that there could be problems with black ice on the roads for drivers. The Environment Agency in England says, however, the main concern now is flooding with the melt. There's a warning of significant river flooding in localised areas of Lancashire and Warwickshire. And of course, with schools and businesses back to normal after the Christmas break, it could be a very difficult start to the new year as everybody gets back on the roads and public transport. The warning once again is travel conditions will be challenging. Consider journeys carefully, especially if you're travelling far.
Martha, thank you very much.